another episode of the Walking Life Journey podcast. I am Nikkita White.
Joined by Lorenzo White.
And Keyondra White.
For those that are joining us for the very first time, we say thank you. You have made it to the WLJ community. Now give yourself a big hand. And those that continue to follow us every Monday, you know we appreciate you all very, very much.
Yes, ma'am. So what are we getting into today?
Well, before we dive into the topic, you got to tell them where to find us.
Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Home Depot, Lowe's, Carl's Jr.,
Podbean, and Apple Music.
and Instagram.
And Amazon Music. That's fun.
That's right.
That's it.
So what are we getting into today?
So the topic that we are going to talk about today is leaning into those difficult conversations. And from today's topic, you should be able to take away 3 points.
Okay.
What are those 3 points? What you think?
Well, I know we wanted to touch on how to have them, the impact of them, meaning, how necessary they are. Well, actually, how necessary they are and the impact of actually having them. So at least all of us have been involved in some discussion one way or another. Mm-hmm. Difficult conversations, to me, they are a must-have. So let's just go ahead and start. Let's kick off with which one you want to kick off with?
Let's kick off. Are they necessary?
Yes, absolutely.
They are. Having tough conversations are necessary because if you don't have them, one, you end up leaving things in a place that you just allow it to go on and on and on. Right. So you put on your blinders, you just ignore it, hoping and praying and wishing that things are going to get better. Mm-hmm. But do they ever get better? Nope, because you still have this difficult conversation that you want to have, and so you just suppress it. But while you suppress it, you have all these emotions that are building up on top of it. Mm-hmm. So this difficult conversation that you should have had now got you feeling some type of way.
That's right. Have you guys, well, if y'all don't mind, I don't know if we want to go there or not, but can you think of a difficult conversation that you had to have and you was kind of reluctant to? And if you did actually go through it and have it, how did it end, or how did it make you feel? How did it pan out?
And I won't even say difficult conversation. Let's use this word tough conversation. Because sometimes when you say difficult, you think it's automatically something bad that you got to talk about. And sometimes it's not things that are bad. Sometimes it could be a conversation between your spouse. It could be a conversation between a friend, and you don't know necessarily how they're going to react. It can be a parent relationship. You don't know how you're going to react.
All right, so give me one that you've had to have. You ain't got to go well into detail, but just like a tough conversation that you had to have.
I'm just going to lean right on into thinking about growing up and being a child. And some people can't talk about this word in their home, and some people can. But have you ever wanted to go to your mom and say, "Hey, Mom, how are babies made? Mom, tell me about sex. Mom, tell me this." Like, talk about that conversation is tough. And I can recall going to my mom when I was ready, and I don't think she was ready to give me all the answers or be very open and honest with me.
I think as a parent, that's tough to hear, man, especially at the age that we were. But yeah, it was still going on around us. It's just, hey, it's a part of growing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These conversations, whether you open the door to allow your kids to have them with you, mm-hmm. or your spouse to have them with you, whatever relationship you're going to talk about, if you don't open those doors, those conversations are still happening. Or they're on the Google or on Hey Siri. They're going to find out how they can get the answers to what they need. Yes.
They got access, like we've been saying.
Yes.
A whole lot of access to a lot of information.
So do you go ahead and lean into those conversations? That way you know the answers or maybe the response is coming from you, mm-hmm. instead of leaving the person out there to search for their own answers. What do you do with that? Because that's, again, it ain't necessarily a difficult conversation. It's tough because I'm just going to keep using the child and parent relationship. They're coming to you and they done heard all these things their friends done told them. They done heard all these ideas. They done asked some questions. They've Googled it, and now they've got up the nerve. They got the guts to say, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go ask mama. I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask daddy, and I'm going to see what they're going to say.
Well, I think for me, if your child is bold enough to ask the questions to you, then you need to be bold enough to give them a straight, honest, truthful answer. If not, you're going to leave it to chance that, it's pretty much like letting the streets raise them or whatever they figure out on their own to raise them, versus you being able to navigate that and really give them the insider to, hey, I understand you're curious about this, but this is what that means, versus leaving it up to their peers or whoever else to answer questions for them. It could lead them astray. Mm-hmm. So what do you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to say, let's ask our child.
Yeah, let's ask our little one.
Grown now.
Grown.
But think about that situation. Is that hard conversation? Is that tough conversation? Is it like, ooh, we don't touch that with our parents? Let's talk about that. Lean into it.
Yeah, because you got a little one that's probably going to be asking you a whole lot of questions. Very inquisitive. So
I know. I feel like now I'm like, okay, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about anything. So now it's not like a tough conversation. But then I feel like it probably was. And I'm the type of person where I don't try to avoid any type of difficult conversations, tough conversations. I'll kind of just, I don't know. I just avoid those conversations. But I know I do have to have them eventually.
So when you avoid those conversations, what do you get out of avoiding it? Because you're not getting answers. You're not getting necessarily the solution. Like I feel like you're in your head and it's just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. What if, could have, what's the answer? So what do you get out of putting them conversations off?
You don't get nothing. That's why I had to learn how to actually just put it out there. Because if I don't, like, bring up what's bothering me or bring up like the situation, I'm just gonna keep thinking about it and I'm gonna be the one getting mad or irritated by it. Mm-hmm. So I even, sometimes I have to have difficult conversations. I'll be like, Mama, how should I go about this? What should I say? You be like, just say this.
Just say it.
So
yeah, I think again the necessity of having tough conversations is a must, man. Because again, it leaves us feeling some type of way when we don't express, what's been locked up inside of us, and it doesn't do anybody any justice just holding that stuff in. Because again, you got the person just going through life,
yeah,
willy-nilly, just regular life, right?
Yeah.
But yet you upset about something or scared to, address something. So it's definitely not healthy, and it's not productive as far as furthering a relationship or feeling like, okay, I can be as open as I need to with this person. It doesn't do anybody any justice. So
I like that. You said I can be as open as I need to be with this person, right? So I can even, and we were talking about this just the other day, Mr. White, that we talk about everything. And now
I feel like this is set up for something. Go ahead.
It's not a setup. It's just really putting it out there. We just had this conversation, I think it was yesterday. But at this point in our life now, we discuss everything. There's really no topic off limits. Mm-hmm. But we were reflecting back on a conversation we were having, and you said, you know what? I don't think I was mature enough to have that conversation then. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's that maturity level, but here we both probably wanted to talk about the situation, but neither one of us felt mature enough because we didn't know what he gonna say.
That's that fear, man. That's that fear.
And so we never had a conversation really until about a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's the thing. You're sitting there and you're supposed to be one with your spouse. Y'all supposed to be able to talk about everything. And yet you just push those conversations down and say, nope, that's not a subject we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But again, what I've learned now, and of course, I mean, grown, seasoned, whatever you want to call it, mature, everything's going to be talked about. Yeah. Everything's going to be talked about. I think sometimes you only want to talk about
facts.
The conversations I want to talk about. But it's just open conversation. Even with Keyondra, I'll open the conversation like, hey, so sometimes she want to talk to me. Sometimes she don't. Let's be real. But I think she's now getting that back. Sometimes I don't want to talk to her, and sometimes I do. Yeah. And she is right. She's like, Mama, how should I have this conversation? I'm like, well, what you think you should say? Yeah. Why are you, first of all, why are you hesitant about having this conversation? So just really having those open conversations, because they are needed. And in anything you do, make sure you find that voice, because if you stop from having those open conversations, those tough conversations, those difficult conversations, it only hurts you. Yeah. And that's the main thing. It only hurts you. The other person don't even know. What you thinking about.
So with that being said, how do you actually go about having those conversations, having those tough conversations? I know how you are, but
well, you tell me, how am
I ain't gonna treat you like the dude at the restaurant did, talking about I know how you are.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Nah, because you done brought it up, because that was somebody trying to tell you what you want to do. And that's how sometimes those conversations happen. I asked for something. That means I want it. He gonna tell me, I'll bring it to you at dessert time. I don't want it at dessert time.
I ain't even talking about that one. I'm talking about when we went to the seafood restaurant.
Somebody always trying to tell me what I like.
Yeah. But again, we digress. So how do you go about?
I'm just saying, y'all, somebody always trying to tell me what I like. The man felt like he knew me and knew that he couldn't put my corn in the bag. I wanted my corn in the bag seasoned. Then the other man gonna tell me I can't have dessert first because I gotta have it at dessert time. When is dessert time? I don't know when I want it. So I'm just saying. Somebody trying to tell you what you want. That's why you gotta have that tough conversation to say, do you know me? Do you know how I like my corn?
I got nothing.
Do you know when I want my dessert?
I got nothing.
I'm just saying, you took me there because you brought those things to my remembrance.
How do you go about, because we're trying to help some folks out. Okay. So some people may hold stuff in because they don't know where to start with. So how do you go about it?
I'm just going to use my personal life, right? So, Keyondra on this first. I think when I'm talking to my child, my daughter, because my child always be my baby, but she is definitely grown. I start those conversations with open-ended questions. I ask to see, like, what is she willing to open up to me at the moment? How was she feeling? Because sometimes it's, hey, how you doing? It's, hey, so heard you got this going on. Want to tell me more? Or I ask a lot of questions. Yeah, you do. I do ask a lot of questions.
I got that for you.
I ask a lot of questions, but I think the biggest thing that I learned is not let conversations go too far without being had. Mm-hmm. I'm also a very emotional person. So before I can have an open conversation or a difficult conversation, I gotta fix my emotions. Some would say I'm very stubborn. I'm always listening and I always hear you. But sometimes I gotta let those emotions just, like a boiling pot, right? I don't want to start having a conversation when I am at the top and I'm boiling over. I want to be able to have a conversation when the water has started to calm down and I can think right. I can hear you. I can really understand the words that coming out your mouth.
Okay.
So that I can be receptive. Right? I write things down to keep me focused on what we're going to talk about. I definitely share my perspective of how the situation affected me. There's so much that I've learned on how to have an open conversation or how to lean into those difficult conversations. I also will ask a question and say, well, what do you think about it? So that way I can also understand from your thoughts. And know what you think. started having conversations with me at a young age, and my numbers have kind of like flipped from when you met me and then added some. So what do you think?
For me, it's because before, before I've matured to the point where I'm okay with expressing myself, I held a lot of stuff in. Um, Things that hurt me, things that I wasn't okay with, but I let ride, things like that. Um, a lot of it was really not understanding, not understanding that I was worried about hurting. I never, even though, yeah, I was hurt by something, I didn't never want to come across to you the wrong way. And I worried about hurting your feelings and different stuff like that. So, a lot of stuff I kept myself. Okay, ain't that big a deal. Ain't nothing to get uh divorced over. Ain't nothing to just throw in the towel.
Okay.
Throw in the towel or nothing like that. But, it's like, okay, is it that deep? Or is it just me? A lot of times I'll analyze myself or I'll reflect on myself. And if it's something I can't get past, then I will bring it up.
Yeah.
But if it's something that, yeah, I felt some type of way about, but it wasn't nothing like major, I held a lot of stuff in. That was no good for neither one of us because in that regard, our relationship wasn't growing.
Yes.
Our relationship wasn't growing. I'm married to you, but are you really the person that I can trust with my feelings? Are you really the person that, yeah, she's my girl, but yeah, I'm scared to tell her this, or I don't want to this. It was like you're going through the motions. You're being married. This is supposed to be the person that you can confide in and everything else, but yet you don't want to say this. So it took me a while. I had to grow into that space, though. Even now, it's certain conversations that I have that I'll say something and I don't get the response that I want or that I need at that time, and that can put up a barrier that can shut me down some. So it's like, okay, that wasn't even what I was getting at. But at the same time, those responses I get from you, I know where they're coming from. It's like, why didn't you tell me that? I'm like, I don't need that right now. I need to tell you how I'm feeling in this moment. So,
but sometimes that is like, think about it. It's an open conversation. So if you tell me how you're feeling, my question to you is like, what you want me to do with that? You want me to just listen to it? You want me to react? You want me to help you solve it? Like, I want to know where you want me at that moment.
Right. And that's fine. But if I'm telling you, for an example, not gonna go into details about it, but I told you about a dream or something that I saw. Like, hey, did I ever tell you this? And you looked at me like, no. Then I said, well, this is da 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 da. And immediately the tone that you took, it was like, okay, let me put this up. Let me tuck that away. I ain't touching that. I'm gonna leave that part alone. Not saying that that I won't revisit it, but the answer I was looking for was more of a man, I didn't know that. You want to talk about it? Those type things, but I didn't express what it was that I didn't prep you for it, and it was shocking what I did tell you. And as far it came from a place of concern. That's why I was like, you know what? I might not have set that up right. Let me leave that alone for right now. But at the same time, what do we take? We talked about unspoken expectations.
Mm-hmm. You wanted me to
respond
a certain way, and
yeah. But again, that was on that. I don't know if it was on me all the way, but again, I didn't express where I needed you at. I just like, I wonder if I ever told her this.
So what I'm hearing you say is you didn't necessarily lean into that conversation.
No, I backed all the way off. I
backed off because
I leaned away from that. Yeah, absolutely.
So my response pushed you away,
even
though my response at that moment was a valid response.
I'm just saying.
It was a valid response. And instead of pulling away, you could have leaned into it to actually say, well, dang, that's not the response I was looking for from you. But Come on, let's talk about this a little bit more.
Right. But again,
the feelings were hurt.
Oh yeah. Feelings got hurt.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
Right
We still together.
Yes, we are.
It ain't blow up the house.
Yeah.
But again, that's us learning each other. That's us continuing to grow. Because we've been together, we've been together almost 30 years now. A lot of conversations have been had. And it just goes to show you still learn, you still grow. You know, all the responses ain't going to be what you want to hear.
No, because it's a conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not a parrot talking that's going to spit the same words back to you that you spit to me. It's a conversation. It goes two ways with human beings that have feelings and emotions.
Absolutely.
That react totally different. So
yeah.
What else you got to say? She just been sitting here going back and forth.
Yeah.
You've had to lean into conversations on multiple levels. You've had to have open conversations on multiple levels. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more what you think.
Yeah. So y'all talked about tough conversations through relationship and with your children, but also those tough conversations that you have to have in friendship. And in my case, with roommates as well, because when you first move, for me, it's like you're moving with a bunch of people. It was 5 of us in the house. So we had to first have those tough conversations of standards and rules everyone had, and dish cleaning the kitchen, trash, being loudness and stuff like that. But then later down the road, when things like that aren't being kept up, and then you have to have that tough conversation of okay, so who's doing this, or y'all need to do better, and just having to open up about that is actually kind of challenging because you just don't know how people are going to react, like you were saying.
Yeah, because you want to do it without kind of ruining what's going on or messing up the vibes and all that, you know?
Wow, that's a good one. Even in roommates, you all had to come together and make rules.
Yeah.
You all had to set standards of how things were going to go. And when things did go left, because they will, I don't care how much time you put in setting the rules, somebody's going to do the opposite. They're not going to do the dishes on Tuesday, which is their day. It's going to sit there to Thursday, and somebody's going to get frustrated. When these dishes going to get clean?
Yeah.
And they upset. All the roommates are walking around. But how do you come back and talk through that? How do you get back on track? Did y'all have those open conversations?
Yeah, we would. We'd be like, so-and-so, come on now. Especially because in the winter, it'd be so cold. So taking the trash to the dumpster, that one was a struggle. But even my first roommate, she was so messy. And I would just have to have that conversation with her, girl, you need to clean up. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So you got to be willing and ready to have those conversations. I had this conversation with one of my friends, and I always mess with her. When you gonna speak up? Have that conversation. Have that open conversation. Speak up. Don't let people run over you. Speak up. Share. And you know what she ended up doing? When it was time for her to have a tough conversation, she had no problem opening her mouth to tell me how she felt. But I'm getting on her, not letting other people know how she felt. So I was like, so what she told me was I would just practice it. But it is true, you guys. Really have those open conversations. Yeah. We laugh about the situations, and we talked about some small things. We talked about growing up and what conversations you should have with your parents. But truthfully, have those open conversations. Lean into those tough conversations. You don't know how the other person is going to respond at all. But if you don't ask, if you don't start the conversation, you are going to start seeking for answers in other places that, guess what, may not necessarily give you the right answer and leave you going down the wrong path.
Yeah. And that comes from that goes with if you're needing help as well, because a lot of people will know they need help, will be depressed and everything else, but scared to go talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
You know, and come to find out, all they had to do was say something, and somebody with their ear would be there to hear them, especially because people can sense when something is serious. You know, you can't. I'm not gonna say you can't. You shouldn't. What's the word? You shouldn't project how you think. Project what you think somebody is gonna say on to them. No,
Absolutely.
you gotta be. Biggest thing is be open and honest with yourself first.
Yep, absolutely.
And once you can be honest with yourself about what you're dealing with and anything like that, find somebody. Even if it's somebody that some people may not even be comfortable with people in their family talking to them.
Yeah.
Some people may find it easier just to mention something to a stranger. I was watching something on matter of fact, I was watching something on Facebook, a reel or something came up. And this dude, it happened in, I ain't gonna say the store, but they was on the aisle together, and the guy asked the girl for a hug, and she looked at him like, "What you want a hug for?" And she thought he was playing or whatever. He's like, "Seriously, you look like you could use a hug." Man, that girl broke down in the aisle,
never know,
crying and thanked him and everything. Yo, she
needed a hug.
Yeah, she was depressed.
And holding
she had just lost her father and everything, and yeah, man, and because at first she thought that he was trying to holler at her and trying to be whatever, but when she gave in and gave him a hug, he said something. I can't remember what he said to her, but it touched her, man, and she broke down and she actually opened up, and he was like, "If you want, I'll come visit you," and she thought he was playing. Nah, dude, he came to see her like the next week or something like that. Drove out to where she was at to spend time with her and hang out with her.
You talking about leaning in. She really leaned in.
Yeah.
She really leaned in. And sometimes that's all it is leaning into those situations. Let those guards down.
Yeah.
Don't go and try to figure out the conversation. Don't be ready to have every single thing mapped out. Well, if she say this is how I'm going to react. And if he say this is how I'm going to react. You can put points down so you can make sure you know what you want to say to help keep your thoughts together. But just lean in. Be ready to hear. And that's the difference between listening and hearing. Be ready to hear and have those conversations. So I hope definitely for you, Keyondra, we have opened up the actual world, opened up the house for you to be able to talk to us about anything and don't figure out how we're going to react to those situations. And I know for Mr. White, I will talk to him about every desire, every goal, every wish, every dislike. Like, if it's coming to my mind, he's going to know what's on my mind.
Yes, Lord.
And sometimes I promise you don't necessarily want to hear it. But he married me, so you got to hear it. So the question that we leave you with is, are there tough conversations or open conversations, hard conversations that you need to have?
That's right.
If there are, then make sure you figure out the best way for you to start that conversation. And you know what? I know texting, we are a texting society these days. It's okay to text to say, "Hey, can we schedule something?" Or, "Hey, I really want to meet with you." But that conversation shouldn't all be in text. It really needs to be verbal. It needs to be had. Sometimes it even needs to be together because your body language says a lot as well. So figure out, if you have those tough conversations, that it's now time for you to lean into. Because I promise you, on this journey called life that we walk every single day, there's going to be something that makes you upset. There's going to be something that's going to leave you with curiosity. There's going to be something that has your emotions going haywire. But always remember, you are key to your story as you walk this journey called life. I am Nikkita White.
I'm Lorenzo White.
And I'm Keyondra White.
Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.